So I worked about 20 years in the finance industry. So let's get straight to the presentation. By the show of hands, can I know how many of you has done a regression before? Come on. Must be more than that, right? Must be more than that, yeah. So easily half of you have done a regression before. And what is the purpose of doing a regression? Because you want to pretend that you can, you know something. From the prices of oranges, I know the prices of durian. From the prices of Ferrari, I know the prices of a GCB, a good class bungalow. So human beings have started doing regression many, many years ago. Until today, machine learning. So that's one of the purpose of today's talk. So a bit of theory. Today's talk involves reinforcement learning. Some of you may have heard of it before. And reinforcement learning is closely tied with dynamic programming. So this and this, as written by this guy. Today's demo is largely based upon this paper, which is well, you can Google for it. You can Google for it. Likewise, you can also Google for dynamic programming in Wikipedia. It would also be very useful. The reason why this paper is useful because later I'll be showing some spreadsheets that helps to decipher the black box that some of you may have seen when you use dynamic programming or something that's equivalent. The last part, which is this paper by the name of crop yield gaps, which I regretted putting in because today I'm not going to go through it. It's horribly complicated. The original intention was to apply some of the techniques over here into a farming context, but it was very difficult. So let's just settle with this too. Anyway, there's only about 40 minutes. So no, there is no crop yield. This is for your self-reading, but you can Google for it. It's quite an informative read. So to be sure, today's talk is about mathematics. It's not teaching you how to grow trees or grow pineapples. So, okay, let's start with the theory from this guy, Bato, 1995. So on page 408, sorry, it's talk like an academic, but can't be helped. A bit of occupational hazard. So we begin with a brief description of the conventional dynamic programming approaches to these problems, restricting attention to finite Markov decision process, a formalism of which most of the rigorous theories of reinforcement learning relies on. The principles of reinforcement learning, however, are by no means restricted to this class of problems. So this is my interpretation. In simple English, this suggests that dynamic programming is a subset of reinforcement learning. But as a side note, reinforcement learning is bigger than dynamic programming. So take, for example, Q-learning is also a subset of reinforcement learning. So what joins DP to RL is actually the Markov process. But at this present moment, well, it's good to know if you know the Markov process, okay. But if you don't know, no big deal. So let's go on. This is not the interesting part. Okay, now more theory, which is the second paper that I show. Unlikely that you want to read this. But let's focus on this. Let's focus on this. It tells you that there's a value function. And you can maximize that value function. And you can maximize that value function if you choose this thing, a best time path. What is meant by the best time path? The best time path means that, well, today is Saturday, tomorrow is Sunday. Sunday, I'm in luck. Monday, I'm in luck. Tuesday, I'm in luck. Wednesday, I'm in luck. A bit unrealistic, but that's how such problems are being formulated. And obviously, if you do this from a theoretical perspective, it's handleable. But if you do it empirically, it gets very clumsy because who will tell you it's the best time path? So you need well, we only have the computer. Otherwise, you have to go to the fortune teller. So, of course, here we are doing scientific stuff, or at least we pretend to do scientific stuff. So this suggests, okay, so my interpretation, simple English, this suggests that you, referring to this, the path is where we should be headed, at least in theory. More theory, more scary theory, from the same guy, on page 9. So this thing, this defines happiness. If you maximize it, you have happiness. And what is this C? C is consumption. If you consume, you'll be happy. If you don't consume, you will not be happy. As simple as that, as simple as that. And all this blah, 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 and all this stuff, sorry, I must be cognizant that it is recorded, so I must control myself. and this B, in particular, is also an important factor because it tells me if I consume tomorrow, I would be less happy than if I consume today. So these are the few important parameters that we have to watch out for. Because, again, if we are to implement it in an empirical manner, it becomes very, very clumsy. Okay, so we settle for this guy. This is even worse. This is even worse. This tells you, I consume. I make. This one, I don't know, but but you can imagine it's something like if I consume and everybody else consume, I feel unhappy. If I'm the only one who is consuming, then I feel happy. So only if I have Ferrari, if everybody is driving a Ferrari, what's the point of driving a Ferrari? Yeah. So this one tells you I have a technology state, or what is called is a capital accumulation state, K. I make $100. I eat $50. I save $50. And this thing, there is this inflationary effect. There's this inflationary, either inflationary effect through money supply or inflationary effect through growth of the population. Because, let's say for argument's sake, if Singapore, there's one day is 20 million people staying here. So the standard of living is different from if it is 7 million or 6 million. So this kind of captures that effect. And this blah, 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 blah says that if everything is in equilibrium, which it will never be in equilibrium, you will get the C, which you move it over, same kind of thinking. You have whatever you make minus something, that is what you consume. And this C goes back to here. And you have to maximize this so that at least you can demonstrate that you're happy. And you're happy across multiple time periods. So this model is named the Ramsey model. Typically, you study this in a second-year PhD program in economics. So not to be worried if you have not seen this before. If you are interested, the origination of the Ramsey model is the Solow and Swans model. All these are recorded in the Wikipedia. If you type dynamic programming in Wikipedia, all this will be recorded. This is what I've just explained just now. And this is a complicated model. It is a complicated model. Not as complicated as Mr. Melvin's traveling salesman. But this problem falls under the same area of dynamic programming. Okay, this is the simple model which I'm going to show afterwards. which is perhaps if those of you who are still in school, you can bring this back to your teacher and you can show off to your teacher. And okay, so I will show you the spreadsheet for the Ramsey model, just to give you a sense of how this potentially can get complicated. Okay, before we go to the Ramsey model, it is important to have some of the notations that's been used is defined. Okay, so you have, this is a very simple example of a discounting function. For those of you who have studied finance before, this would be a no stranger, but for the benefit of everybody, this has to be clarified. So you have time 0, and 1, and 2. And assuming that the interest rates is 0.05, which is 5%. And this is how you do a discounting, which is 1 divided by 1 plus the interest rates and to the power of t. So in this case, interest rates, or the discount factor in this case to be more general, is expressed in an annualized fashion. So in other words, if this is per hour, so hour number 1, hour number 2, hour number 3, then the interest rates has to be expressed in a per hour basis. In this case, commonly interest rates are expressed in an annualized fashion. And this is the discounted value. This is a discounted value. So in simple English, if I put 95 cents today, I will get back $1 tomorrow. That's how finance practitioners look at it. If you are a layman, today I go to the bank, I put in $1. After 1 year, I get 5 cents. So as you can see that this is actually the same because it's just 1 minus 95, you get 5 cents, and here is 1 plus 0.5. It's just a different way of looking at stuff. So for the purpose of this spreadsheet and the paper, it's all expressed in beta, which is in a discounted cash flow manner. So for 1 year, discounted cash flow is 0.95 given 5% interest rates. If you have it for 2 years, it's going to be 0.9. So let's get back to this. So what I want to show you here is actually column B, you can think about it as your state of actions for every single time period. Today is Saturday here. Tomorrow is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, next Thursday, next Friday, etc. So these are all forward-looking in time. But in this case, the example given, at least in the paper, is years. So you are going out in the future, I think 20 years. And K refers to just now the K that you look at, which is the capital accumulation. Y is your output. Whatever you earn and you save, which you did not save, whatever you earn which you did not save becomes what you eat. So this is dispersion of how much you eat across time, at least according to the model. This is the clumsy formula that you saw on the left-hand top bottom, which technically speaking, it is a utility function. For mathematicians, it is called the CRRA, which is a constant risk. Sorry, the remaining RA, I don't know, I can't remember what it means, but it's called CRRA, constant level risk compensation kind of effect. So this is for that. So recall what we say. Those that you eat, then you enjoy. So the whole purpose is to maximize this part, E34. So this model suggests that as long as you maximize cell E34 by varying these yellow parts, you would have deemed to have maximized your utility. These are the betas that we look at. This is if interest rate is 0.4, and this is if the interest rate is 0.5. Let me give you a live demo of how the paper suggested that how this should be run. Let's say if I replaced all of this with 1.3. So you see that the curves are not healthy in my words, because all of them are turning down. You go to the solver. You see this solver solves for cell E34 by changing the yellow parts, which is this. And the yellow parts has to be always strictly more than 0. And you have to consume at the last period more than the first period. So, although a bit unrealistic, but this is how it can be done. Let's see. So indeed, no matter how unrealistic the model is, as long as this part is going up, and this part goes up as well, but it is starting to turn down, this would have peaked. So K is a capital accumulation. All it goes to say is you have something that you earn, which is this orange line. And this is the gray line that you consume. So after doing some kind of subtraction, it is possible for you to get to a well-defined state. So, okay, at this moment I stop because it's getting very, very complicated. Let me just summarize. You have an interaction of variables at the same time. You also have the interaction of variables for today and yesterday. And you have the interaction of variables for today and tomorrow. So it's horribly complicated. But all this can still be approximated in an Excel sheet, and they can be explained. Likewise, if you are game, you can change the discount rate and see how would the consumer shift its consumption pattern across time. So I stopped here for the moment. So if there is any question that you want to clarify, or you think that I'm talking nonsense, this is so far so good, right? So far so good. Yeah. So this is the Ramsey model, which is the difficult model. Now let me give you the simpler one, which hopefully you can make use of it and maybe show off to your teachers or friends if you go back to school. So this example is on fishing and mining, which is on page 7 of the second paper. So you can see this is much simpler. Same thing, we have the discount rate, interest rates, 0.08. Transform into a discounted factor is going to be 0.92 for 1 year. This is your decision state, which is equivalent to what we have seen just now, similar to consumption, but this is not consumption. Okay, suppose we start off with 100, and xt is the number of fish, or the number, or the amount of iron ore in a particular mine. How we can actually model it is that across every single time step as you go forward, assume that you have taken out 100 in period 0, you have 900 balance for the next period, and this goes down and down and down until period number 10, you have 0. And this is some kind of arbitrary discount factor. So as always, the purpose here is to maximize cell D18. So let's see what we can do with it. Same thing, the solver. Pretty much it's the same, the kind of constraint that we put in, that you can only dig out iron ore from the ground, you can't put it back. So that's what it means, because you always take out 100. So just now the utility function is about 260. After you have performed the maximization, it goes to 300 plus. And then this is the amount that you should dig out from the ground across various periods. This seems to be a remaining balance in there, but very, very small. Let us be a bit more adventurous. Let's switch this to okay. Let's switch this to 0.01. So let's say in 2018, where we have interest rates close to 0.01. How would the curve behave? And try to make some sense out of it. You see, it returns an error. It returns an error because, to me, I call this a computer problem. So I have to reset all this to 100 because it cannot find the local maximum point. So let's try again. So when interest rates decrease, from 0.08 to 0.01, there is no incentive for me to dig out the minerals tomorrow. I can wait until the last day. This is actually works through the discount factor. And I can get 381. But that's proof if the counterfactual is true, because we have only tested one direction. So now we shall test for the other direction. So I have 0. Just now was 0.08. Let's say now I put it to 0.1. I'm going to turn all these people back to 100. So let's do it again. So it's indeed proven true that I have to squeeze out as much minerals as possible on day one or year number one in order to maximize. You can call that a utility, you can call that a profit. Okay, so what's the purpose of showing this in real life? So today, we have interest rates at about 5%. So can we maximize our returns via this method? If let's say we have got I don't know, 1 million of cash and you want to put it in a fixed deposit, that exercise is no different from this, right? In fact, you can even make it more realistic by crossing over. What I meant by crossing over is like, if you have $100, I will put in $50 today, and then $50 will expire in 1 year's time. Wait for another half a year, I'll put in $50, so that the deposits, the fixed deposits, stagger each other. And the second point, which we can make it more realistic, is the interest rates. The interest rates are not constant for deposits of different tenors. So if I put 6 months, then I'll ask myself, should I do it? If I put 1 year, should I do it? If I put with UBS, I put with CIMB, CIMB obviously gives me something more. So such cost constraints, risk constraints can be built into this very, very simple setup, where you don't have to go to this Ramsey model and break your brains and bones. But this very simple one would suffice for a forward-looking 1 to 2 years kind of cash management program. So with that, I hope you take away something today useful. This dynamic programming is no way matching yours, Mr. Melvin, but hope it's useful for you. Okay.
I'm just curious, what about negative interest rates? Because I heard that was a thing for a period of time.
What is your question specifically? Yes, the interest rates can become negative.
How would it affect this model then?
Okay, I'll give you the industry answer.
Yes.
I'll give you the industry answer. When interest rates are negative, deposits are also negative, clear cut. But loans will never be negative. The bank will never pay you when you borrow money from them. Yeah. So when rates are negative, you as a retailer, as an end investor, as an end depositor,
yes,
you still have to keep money in the bank because of transactionary purpose. So there is no investment purpose. So that's why when interest rates are negative, stock market will go up because you have nowhere else to go. But what did I want to say?
Yeah, I was asking how it would affect this this particular way of looking at of this mathematical formula, for instance. Yeah, I'm just curious.
It will break down. It will break down. It will break down. It will break down. But there are ways not to make it break down,
Okay.
because there's no whiteboard over here. In reality, when the rates were negative, it's only the front end that's negative. So what the depositors can do, or in this case, bond buyers, bond investors, they will buy into the longer end. When you buy into the longer end, you will not get negative rates.
Okay.
Yeah, but the front end rates, those such as 3 months, 6 months, those will be negative. In fact, if you go back to Singapore, let's say 2007, during then the Singapore swap curve up to 5 years was negative because Singapore uses FX as a monetary tool, so it forces the yield curve to go negative during that time. What was actually a bigger problem during that time was not that the rates are negative, but if you measure volatility, as you know, there are options traded on interest rates. So when you measure volatility, you know, when you take log, when you measure volatility, you have to take log. But when log goes together with negative, it produces an error. Yeah, so that is a more serious problem during that time, 10 years ago. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Yes, sir.
You talk about the Ramsey model and this fishing and mining, which you said simpler. How exactly is it simpler? I didn't quite get the difference actually.
Okay, the Ramsey model has a few components. It has K, and it has K today. It has K yesterday. That's the first complication. That means intertemporal.
Right.
But just now the mining one also has. But the mining one was a fictitious example. I would just say that whatever if I have fishes, let's say fishes at the South China Sea, 10 tons with no replenishment. Every day I send a fishing boat out, I get 1 ton. Tomorrow is left with 9. This guy, not exactly the same thing. Not exactly the same thing. Because K is an estimated parameter. It's not fed in. It's not fed in. Because just now we have 1,000. So I take out 100. It's left with 900. That is human-made. That's human-made. But this one, the K is estimated. It's actually estimated from some kind of variables, from economic variables, because K is a capital accumulation rate. So you have an estimated variable across time, which governs this equation. That's complication number 1. Second complication is not only you have K that is intertemporal. I believe interest rates that go into this beta, which is also intertemporal, which is because you have discount rate for today, discount rate for tomorrow, for next year, etc., etc. The third complication in my mind actually is there's a little bit of confusion, at least for myself, because I've been doing these kind of things for some time. So you have got this and this, which looks very similar, and the difference is there's an N inside there. So when you think about the system, right? When you think about the system, of course you can do algebra manipulation, moving things left and right. But this appearance of the N in this, but not this, is also a problem. Is also a problem. The final problem is that there is this concept of a star, which is that so-called equilibrium rate, but which in the mining example, there is no equilibrium rate. Yeah. What it means by equilibrium rate is there's always this level which the machine always thinks that it should be at there, and if you deviate from that point, there's this tendency to pull it back. Yeah. So that is the complexity of this model, which is why you have so many colors on the spreadsheet in order to at least pretend to come up with some I wanted to say intertemporal decisions, but it's actually a decision over many periods of time. Sorry to give you a mathematics lesson. But here the take-home message is actually not so much whether it is Ramsey or is it mining, but when you are doing reinforcement learning, this is actually what the computer is doing behind the scene. And if we cannot explain why there's whether it's buy or sell or keep for the purpose of investment in the case of investment, then you can't use it. You can't use it. Yeah. So my conversation with you just now was yes, you can depend on machine learning for recommendation. Yes, today I recommend you the show Barbie Doll. Tomorrow is Star Wars. That one doesn't need explanation, but when it comes to money, you need to explain, yes. So when it comes to such things, I think there is, yeah, so that's my takeaway for today. And hopefully it's not too depressing, but execute your algorithms carefully, so there's no need to act hero, and but understand it first, then you execute on it. Okay. I think that ends my talk today. A bit over time.